This is gonna blow your mind.
Firearm dialogue is very troubling and completely unacceptable. I'm like, what?
Total, complete lies.
You know, I think we have the ability to make some real change here. We're going to expose the board for lying on these complaints because we've recorded back here exactly what they said, and you know, I don't think you should elect a liar that should be president of the board.
It's like, yeah, you can't have the inmates talking to each other. They might have a plan to escape.
This great adventure.
Well, cheers.
Cheers. Enjoying another day in this awesome park.
Right, what are we celebrating? Welcome back to part 2 of Harassed in an RV Park. And during the pandemic of all times, we have more crazy stuff to talk about.
It just keeps happening. The good thing though, it's comical. It's so ridiculous. So we're getting good entertainment out of it.
Exactly. And remember, if you like the video, to give it a thumbs up, not a thumbs down. This isn't Facebook. I know the situation looks bad, but we're just sharing this so that you guys can learn from it and kind of look out for this particular place that we're at. So what happened next? We woke up the other morning and looked out our windows to see 4 people snooping around the back of our RV.
Taking pictures of our stuff, discussing.
Right.
You can hear through these. This is an RV. It's not that insulated. We can hear everything they're saying, talking about
all of our stuff. They've got a clipboard taking notes. And
so they commented on, like, what was it, like the grill? We have a little grill, the kayak.
Anything underneath the RV, our leveling boards, they actually were touching them.
Moving them around.
Moving them around.
It's like, that's our stuff.
Yeah, but it's also during the pandemic.
Yeah.
We're back outside after some of the nosy neighbors had been moving stuff around here, just to kind of show you what they did. We've got some of our long boards right here. These were all over here, and this fencing was all around on the other side. It's kind of in the way right here, so we're gonna have to move this stuff around ourselves. I mean, not a huge thing, but just in the whole scheme of things, it's when does somebody come to your RV site and move stuff around and then not put it back where it belongs, even if it was for some kind of maintenance? Not cool. Don't touch our stuff.
And when we're still cleaning groceries, like, leave our stuff alone. Don't touch, get off our property.
The reality of grocery shopping during the pandemic, wiping everything down with Clorox wipes. We don't know if it's even worth doing, but I don't know. Better to be safe than sorry, I suppose.
Right. And
I mean, who do they think they are? They think that they own every property out here. They don't.
Totally unacceptable.
We don't know what's going on back there. We just hear a bunch of voices, people messing with our stuff behind the RV. So
I started recording with the iPhone just to capture that, and then you went outside. Oh, you opened the door.
I just opened the door. I didn't go outside at all. I opened the door because I wasn't dressed for the day. It was morning time. I was still having my coffee. So I just opened the door and I was like, is there somebody back there? Kind of, you know, hollering so they could hear me. And they were like, oh, we're just back here. I said, oh, well, if you could just give us a heads up the next time you're gonna be back there behind our RV so we know, you know, what's going on, we'd really appreciate it. Just, you know, common courtesy. And he's like, but we're on the board. And we're like, well, still, we're just asking for, you know, common courtesy heads up. I don't think that's too much to ask for.
Somebody's back there. Oh, can we get some heads up next time, maybe? Instead of just going back behind our RV, like a text or something?
So I was like, oh, if you could just give us a heads up. He's like, well, we're on the board. I mean, it was very...
It's dismissive.
Yeah. We've been the victim of a robbery before, and we don't know what's going on. And
right. I mean, you guys know, it's not cool to go back behind anybody's RV in their campsite.
And I don't think we were asking for anything exceptional. I mean, it was just basic common courtesy. They have our text. They've texted us before.
Right.
It wouldn't be difficult to say, hey guys, we're going to be I don't know, whatever, behind your RV.
Right, if you need to do something.
Yeah.
But this was specifically looking for things to complain about. And I mean, the stuff they were saying was really quite ridiculous. They were
Right.
looking underneath the shed that we've rented here as part of the whole agreement.
And
There's
people
just-
have left stuff back there because they've rented here before.
Yeah, it's not even our stuff.
Right. Well, most of the sites here are purchased with the intent of not really living here full time. Some people do, but most people rent these spots out, and they
Right.
don't like outsiders. So they're
Yeah.
trying to like nab us for whatever they can get.
And we say the board, this is an HOA type of a park situation.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to share that funny commercial
Yeah,
about
the
HOAs
HOA.
because that is really hilarious.
Yeah.
You need to break down your cardboard. Violation.
But basically, behind the RV is actually considered common ground.
Right.
And they actually have a right to be back there.
They were overstepping their rights.
Well, touching our stuff,
Yeah.
but also taking pictures and also the comments again.
Discussing all of our things. It's like it was really overstepping. They crossed the line.
Definitely crossing the line and making comments that, oh, the pavement needs to be pressure washed. And they are obsessed
With pressure washing.
I mean, it's been a little while now.
Yeah.
But I seriously thought they were going to start pressure washing the trees because they've literally pressure washed everything else
Yeah.
around here.
It really has been a big funny show.
A funny bleep show. Thursday we were trying to launch a video in the morning.
Yep.
And we were actually interrupted.
And it takes
by-
hours of work, and we're on a timeline.
Yes. I looked back behind our RV and our leveling boards had been moved again. This is the second time. If you're going to move our stuff, you should ask first and also move it back to where it was originally. So it's the second time they have moved our stuff and not said anything, not asked our permission, and not put it back. Well, Barney Fife came onto our lot
Yeah.
and moved it. So we were talking about what to do, and here she comes back, wandering
Going back
around
there
in the
again.
back. You had enough.
I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna ask one more time for a courtesy text. Maybe they're not very bright. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna ask her again. So I actually go into the front of the RV. She's a few lots down because she's gone back there and around. And make sure she's not right there.
Yeah, they're actually right
Yeah, they're like
there.
right there.
So
They like to watch us.
Yeah, maybe we'll just say that really quickly, that the unfortunate thing is when there isn't an RV in the
Right
spot,
here,
right?
they can
right
see
here to our
everything we're
left.
doing.
Yeah, that's one of
It's
the
a little
problems,
weird because
so-
it feels like you just picture them inside their RV with binoculars and watching us. What are they doing now?
Right.
Oh, is that something new in their yard we can go touch and move around and talk about and take pictures of?
Exactly.
That's what they do. That's what we
Yeah.
picture because they have no life. But anyway, so she's like walking up the main road, and I was like, hey, I'm like, could you guys give us like a heads up if you're gonna be back behind our RV? And she's like, well then, I asked for a text specifically, and she's like, oh well then that means I would have to be texting you several times a day. And at first I'm thinking, why would you need to be behind our RV several times a day? But then I was just like, okay, well that's fine. And then she started rambling on about something else and something she was angry about. I don't know. I'm like, oh, please don't pull out your Barney Fife gun. I was just referencing what, her nickname around here. Well, I guess that made her mad. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Our RV's too far back. Our stuff is on common ground. And our RV is too far back.
There's a shed on the common ground.
I said, well, you need to give us a heads up when you're going to be walking around. Well, I'm back there almost every day, so I'll have to text you a lot. I said, okay.
Boy.
She goes, I don't touch your stuff. I said, oh yeah, you do. We got you on camera. But I just laughed and went inside, and then, that was over. So we thought.
The owner of the lot forwarded this to us. Wow, we did not expect what we saw. That was, I actually have to pull out my laptop here and read it specifically because it is full of lies and stuff we had no idea.
No.
I mean,
No.
it is.
They're reaching crazy. I think our eyes were wet and mouths on the floor.
This is gonna blow your mind. I mean, I laugh about it now, but the things in here are not a laughing matter. I'm gonna try to summarize this email as much as I can. There's so much here.
There's so much.
It's so ridiculous, but I'll try to just... The first complaint is Logan's car was out of the lot for weeks and weeks.
Yes.
He
yes.
brought it back in
One night.
One night.
We had very specific permission to
From
park
the
there.
owner.
Right. So, and he parked it in that lot, and the neighbors were actually coming in for a vacation and knew that that next door neighbor was going to be coming in as well. So he let Logan know that, hey, you know, there's guest parking at the end, and if you could just park it down there because they're going to be coming in tonight. So he was like, cool, sure, no problem. So that's what he did.
Right, and that was the night before we got this email.
Yeah.
Like, they immediately knew he was back and parked in guest parking one night. That was it.
So after Logan and this next door neighbor had a discussion about parking, Logan came in and he goes, I just met some of the nicest neighbors. There's actually some nice people that stay here. And so we're like, oh, nice. We look forward to meeting them. And then we got a complaint.
Yeah, it was a great conversation.
Yeah. And then we got a complaint stating that one of the neighbors had words with Logan.
Had to get upset with him and tell him to get out
and we're like, what?
Of that owner's lot.
Right. We even later had a discussion with this person and he said, oh, we just ignored them.
Yeah, that was totally cool.
Yeah, it was totally cool.
No big deal.
They made it look really bad on our part.
Yeah, and that by far is the least of the complaints.
Yes.
Let's get to the next one. I'm just reading from the summary, actually. Number 2 is no one sleeping in the storage building effective immediately. Mm-hmm. Number 3, the tenant reading, signing, and providing the board with a signed copy of our rules and regulations.
The new rules and regulations that they just piped up with.
Right. Yeah, this is a completely different set with some real specific ones aimed directly at us. Mm-hmm. And then the 4th one is when I pull the RV in, I didn't know anything about this common area back there, and usually you can use your entire lot. So I had pulled back the RV over the grassy area by about 6 feet, and actually that was in the rules that we had signed, and I didn't realize what common area was. You know,
it's not really well defined.
Right. So in the back of the RV lot that we're at right now, but you see this space we got right here. Normally you'd be able to utilize all the space. This is like a common area right here. So it's a little bizarre. You can actually have neighbors and people come back here, which is a little unsettling when it happens. I need to move up, so I'm gonna have to disconnect everything and hook up the RV to the truck and pull forward. So it'd be a several hour long project getting all of that done. But again, we'll take advantage of that by installing the snap pads today. That way I'll save some time having to do that at another time.
One of the complaints we got was the interaction I had with one of the board members when she had been walking around behind our lot again after I had asked, you know, common courtesy, just let us know, send us a text, an email, they have all our information, they could even call to let us know they're going to be back behind our RV because we don't have windows back there. We don't know what's going on back there, and it could be a safety issue.
Right.
You know, we don't know what they're doing. If it's some stranger, if it's a neighbor that's hopped the fence over here, we don't know. So common courtesy, just let us know. So she was back there again. And so I decided like I needed to talk to her about this again. So I go outside and I saw her down the road and said, hey, you know, would you mind giving us a heads up? I'm asking once again for a heads up, common courtesy. She started going off on something, but she was kind of far away, so I couldn't really understand what she was saying. And I was like, oh, don't pull out your Barney Fife 1-bullet gun or something to that effect. And she started complaining about our RV being too far back. And that was the first time we'd heard of that. And I also asked her, I was like, just please don't touch our stuff. If you want us to move something, I'd be happy to move it for you.
Right.
Well, we were in the middle of the pandemic. Don't be on our lot touching our stuff. So the next thing we know, we're getting a violation report that I threatened this person with a firearm.
Right.
I was like, what?
Like, what planet are we living
you know,
on?
Maybe she's older and couldn't hear. Maybe she's too far away, didn't understand what I was saying. I was joking. Kind of in a sarcastic way, though. We have Barney Fife,
Yeah,
whatever.
you mentioned Barney Fife.
Oh
and
my, in your 1-bullet gun. Maybe she heard gun. I don't know. Whatever. But we were like, what?
Yeah, you can't say gun on an airplane, so I guess you can't say
you
gun in an RV
either.
park
Yeah, so
either.
I won't ever say the word gun again. Don't talk about Barney Fife from Andy Griffith.
And not just was that in the complaint, they called the police. And there's a report filed about Cheri threatening with a gun.
But we had to call the police later in this story.
Yeah.
And he found out that they didn't do anything with it. They didn't even take it seriously. It was kind of a joke.
I kind of think she has a history with calling the police.
Yeah, that wouldn't
on
surprise
people.
me. But we'll get into that story later.
Yeah.
Because it just gets more interesting and more interesting.
Okay, here's where you got very aggressive.
Oh.
You almost need to. Would you remember all of
Oh
that?
yeah, so it was in the morning, and we're just up, having our coffee, just starting our day, and we hear a bunch of ruckus back behind the RV, and it's like, what is going on back there? We don't have windows back there, we couldn't see. So I wasn't dressed to be seen, so I made sure I stayed out of sight. I opened the door and there was a slide like blocking me, which was cool. Tom was in the back recording when everything back there. So I reached out, I'm like, is there somebody back there? What's going on? And they're like, oh, we're just back here on the board or something like that. And I said, oh, well, can we get a common courtesy text or call when you're going to be back there? Because we didn't know to expect you and that would be cool, whatever. And he's like, but we're on the board, he yells.
Yeah.
But then we get the complaint that says that, in the door, it has to be shut kind of hard and it's kind of loud because it won't latch. I shut the door and of course it's loud. Here it says the president of the board walked around to the front side. The front side? I don't think that's what we see in our recording. And advised her that it was us, the board of directors, completing our annual review. She got very aggressive with him, which I never even laid eyes on him, and stated he should not be behind her RV unless he had called or texted her. That's not exactly how it went down. He tried to explain we're on common ground and not the space she rented. She got more aggressive, and said if he had any common courtesy, he would have texted her and to text or notify her in the future.
Like somebody's back there. Oh, can we get a little heads up next time maybe? Instead of just going back behind our RV, like a text or something? This is the first time.
So I was like, oh, if you could just give us a heads up. He's like, well, we're on the board. I mean, it was very...
It's dismissive.
Yeah. Then I ran into the RV and slammed the door.
Yeah, you never were even out.
I was
of
never
the
even
RV.
out there. No.
Yeah, so not only did he stretch it,
But he lied.
the president of the board lied on this complaint. That runs this whole HOA lied on a complaint that was sent back to us.
And they have a way of twisting things to make it look like, like I was aggressive or... because I did. I asked him, like, oh, can we get a common courtesy? We've got the footage.
As you can see on the video, the president clearly did not walk around to the front.
No. And I did have to raise my voice because I'm out the door and they're way at the end. So I had to like make sure they could hear me.
Well, and it was around the slide.
Yeah. It's just so, it's just, really, we were at a loss for words.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane. I'm sure you're just as shocked as we are hearing all of that. And we just quickly covered a couple of the things that they mentioned in there. I mean, total, complete lies about us and what we've done. And yeah, now it's time to talk to the owner about this.
And what we're going to do next. Yeah, and it's like we're just asking for something very simple. They're touching our stuff, they're walking through the lot, and it's like we want some privacy here. They're not social distancing, we very much are, and it's not right for them just to be hanging around here frequently and touching our things. They're being very intrusive in our lives, even telling us where Logan can sleep and where he can't sleep, and it's really none of their business. And why? I can't understand why we're such a target. We stay in the RV most of the time, you know, working, and we're working from home. And
we've walked around. We don't know about like construction stuff in the back of RV lots, but I know there's on the very end there's a really messy lot. I mean, there's like junk everywhere. It just seems like, again, if they're trying to apply all these little nitpicky rules as to how and where things need to be on a lot, it's completely ignoring this lot on the end. Looks like a junkyard. We're gonna cross our fingers and hope this gets better, and we'll definitely let you guys know. So if you're not a subscriber, definitely hit that subscribe button. Again, give the video a thumbs up, even though it's a sucky situation. If you like the entertaining value of that.
Seriously, they act like they're the local police in here.
HOAs are the bane of my existence. Them being on the HOA, they, you know, it's not an excuse for them to commit crimes. Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate a couple things to her and make sure that, you know, they kind of understand a little bit, and I'll call her back and let her know. We had a pretty lengthy conversation on the phone, and like I said, it didn't really sound like she was enthused to hear what I had to tell her, but...
Sorry guys, I'm in the middle of a business meeting, but if you insist on interrupting me, that's fine.
The wife and I enjoyed having you guys for renters, and we wish you all the best. You're good renters. The problems lay elsewhere.
We got the bad camping challenge. Pay lots of money, don't enjoy your stay.
Head for the sun, follow your footsteps, edge of the world, right to your doorstep, home, anywhere you wanna go, beyond the stars.